I want to talk about foreclosures for a second. And this is a question for you too, Major General. Right now, the service members are protected under the Service Members Civil Relief Act when it comes to foreclosures. And correct me if I'm wrong on that. Can you tell me what is the mechanism for mortgage servicers to determine if there is a deployment status of a service member, and how is that handled? What I'm trying to get at is it's my understanding that there are some servicers that are starting foreclosure while the service member is deployed. I do not believe that is legal under the law. Correct me if I'm wrong, and what's being done about that? I'll start with you, Holly.
First, I have to fess up, I'm not a lawyer, so...
Neither am I.
I'm not going to give you binding legal advice here, but when it's a question of foreclosure, it's not the obligation of the service member to tell their mortgage holder that they are going on active duty, unlike the interest rate reduction provision where you do have to tell them. For protection from non-judicial foreclosure, it's on the lender to determine if you're on active duty. And they can do that by going to the Defense Manpower Data System and looking that up. And you're right, judging by the recent announcements by the Department of Justice of some large-scale settlements, obviously there are servicers who are not doing that before they foreclose.
Major General, could you just address that from your perspective?
Senator, I think I'd go back to a reference I made in my opening statement about Norma Renteria. She's probably the best example I could give you of our commitment and the way that it plays out on a daily basis. So Norma Renteria was benefited from the training necessary for a member service representative to understand what the SCRA requirements are and to ensure that we operate and are true to those. And remember, in my recollection, she was not. This was not a loan that we had even made.
Right. And I guess the question I've got is that we've heard a lot about mortgage servicers, and it hasn't necessarily been good in a lot of cases.
Yes, sir.
Do we have to ramp up the penalty on them? What do we have? I mean, I'm not big into the stick, but by the same token, and you know this better than anybody, and tell me if I'm wrong, if you've got a service member in theater in very stressful conditions, the last thing you want to is have their kid at home thinking about a house that's being foreclosed on.
Exactly.
So what do we do about this?
Well, Senator, I think it starts with a sense of ownership, and it starts with a sense of ownership and obligation to those service members, and that's what's at the center of our commitment. Even when the loan isn't with our financial institution, we will work with that service member to protect them from foreclosure and do everything humanly possible to keep them in their home. And not to mention, the law requires us to do so for those who are deployed, as you said.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate your company. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other folks out there that don't share the same commitment, and I don't appreciate them near as much as I do you. I want to thank you guys all for your testimony. Appreciate the work you do, and good luck.